Hey guys, so I just got done with watching all those Criterion Blu-rays that I've got. It took me about almost a month, I think, because I know I had gotten those back on this what was it, October 13th? So uh, sorry for like the long wait for the week, but I promise you it will get better. It's not going to look like I live in my mom's basement. So I will have the schedule of having it today and then Wednesday. And so if I have more content, then I'll sprinkle it out in the week in between. But it won't be normally. It won't be a video every day, unfortunately, just so I can get my thoughts together on stuff that I've watched instead of these like previous popcorn reviews that I've been doing that I don't think have been very good. So anyway, thank you for all that have been watching this far, and those of you that have subscribed, thank you very much. So I'll get into it. So I watched, and out of the two movies, well, out of the bunch, I have two movies that I felt very strongly about that I'll make reviews on. One is All That Jazz by Bob Fosse, and the other is Shortcuts by Robert Altman. So I'll start off with All That Jazz since I have a lot of feelings on it. And of course, it was made by Bob Fosse, a very famous American choreographer. Made Chicago most famously, was in a lot of movies. Uh, so and made Cabaret, which won best whom he won for best director in 1972, I believe. Beat out Francis Ford Coppola, mind you, and The Godfather. So, and which rightfully so, I believe. That's maybe a controversial opinion, but I think that with All That Jazz, and I'll get into it. All That Jazz stars Roy Scheider as Joey Gideon, who is this sort of stand-in for Bob Fosse, who has a heart attack and has a near-death experience. However, as he goes through, he laments on his life and eventually comes to a sort of climax. And I won't go into it any further from there, but it is all about death and really all about the sort of signaling of really the end of one's life and a reflection of that. So Fosse at this point, of course, All That Jazz is it's pretty to the point. This is about the last, probably like 5 years of Bob Fosse's life while he was trying to make or edit the film Lenny, which I haven't seen, but he was cutting that, and he eventually did have a massive heart attack because he was driving himself into the ground. He was also making Chicago for the stage at that point. So he decided to make this movie about really his life and what his reflections on it are, because he had a very hard time, of course, almost dying, and eventually, unfortunately, he did 6, 7 years later, I believe, of the same issue, a heart attack. But in terms of All That Jazz and what he was able to put to this movie was very interesting. He was very influenced by the film Eight and a Half, which I'm really not going to compare both films because it's been a long time since I've watched Eight and a Half. But it's in the same way where the director is sort of it's very, he puts autobiographical elements in there and also just stuff that is not so real, mind you. But with that being said, I my feelings on All That Jazz are are disappointment, I think, and the reason why is because twofold. Number one is that there really is no emotional connection there with any of these characters, which at the end of the day, you really don't have to feel for any character and you don't have to sympathize with them or anything like that, especially even the main character. But I feel that in some ways, like this was more of like a drawn out apology note more than it was like a self examination of what this guy was. And yeah, we do see scenes of like an incredible first scene where Scheider or Gideon, Joey Gideon in this case, was hiring these actors for his upcoming show, and that was incredible. And I mind you, like the dancing and the choreography scenes were incredible. I think that they were very nicely thought out, of course, by a great dancer in Fosse. But at the same time, there's a part of me where it didn't really add much to the emotional resonance of the story, which I believe was probably it was very muted. Like there was nothing in this that made me feel like any sort of emotional connection. The flashback scenes with him and the Angel of Death, I don't think really added a lot to it. Maybe besides like just giving an example, or maybe even oh well, this is why I'm misogynistic, or this is why I'm this and that. There's really no deconstruction there. It's mostly just like, okay, I could just point to a reason why, and we're gonna move on. So also the way that Fosse directs is more of the stage rather than an actual film. And I know that that's kind of weird me saying that, because it is a movie after all, and the editing was done very well. And but the way that he stages his scenes, to me, there wasn't really a sort of a flow through it. It was more of like just okay, we'll stage it this way, stage it this way, stage it this way. And maybe that's like a personal taste on my opinion, but it was more of like a scattershot sort of movie, maybe, from what I'm seeing or what I saw. Also, the performances I thought were very good by all of them. Anne Ranking, I'm sorry if I got her name wrong, and then Leland Palmer and the little girl who, I'm sorry, her name I cannot pronounce, but they all did great. They danced very well. Roy Scheider did great as Joey Gideon. And there's also a part of me that well, I'll go back to the emotional core of the movie, in that I thought that there would be more interaction between him and his daughter, especially in those first scenes where it sort of sets it up. But it wasn't even midway through. I think like maybe about 5 minutes later, they're dancing and they're having fun. So to me, it was like that was kind of not really a main focus of the movie either. It was really all about the director. And to me, near the end of the movie, I felt like this sort of while I'm watching this huge stage performance of a rendition of Bye Bye Love, and where it emphasizes the death part, I felt it was very gaudy and not and just this sort of grotesque sort of looking thing. And maybe that's what it was supposed to be, but I thought that maybe there was supposed to be some emotional connection that I was supposed to have for this character, and I just ended up having none. And so by the end of it, I'm really focusing in on just like how good the dancing is, how good the singing is, which is fine. But I just look at it and just see, man, it's just, there's a lot that may have been like touched up or acted upon, but it really wasn't. And that's why I don't think that, like, from what I see of this movie, it's, oh, this is like a total self-examination of one's character. And I didn't see that at all. I thought it was just more of a, like I said, an apology tour, especially near the end, where I'm sorry I messed up your life, and yeah, I'm sorry I'm not going to mess yours up either, right? So it's like the character is like firmly resolute. There's no sort of like breaking down or anything like that. It's more of just acceptance of, hey, I'm an asshole, So it's just, and that's fine. You could take it as that, but I kind of wanted it like a bit more from it. And when I take it as it is, it's just a okay film experience with really great dance numbers. I could think of the middle section where all the dancers are dancing in this erotic sort of way that I thought was brilliant, really. There were scenes between at Gideon's home with his daughter and his, I wouldn't say mistress, but girlfriend, and then they were dancing in his house, and I thought that that was really cute. But there's really, like I said, there's really no emotional resonance here, and I think that there was a big miss. And the second part of it to me is that a part of me thinks, and this is maybe like a political thing, I'm not for sure, a philosophical thing, but I feel that you should never be like the creator of your own narrative. That should just be left to the people that have known you and create this portrait of you, right? So I think of all that jazz as sort of like a way to sculpt like some picture that, yeah, these are my flaws, but I'm okay with it. And I think it's encapsulated well. And I know this is kind of a weird comparison, but there's a perfect Chappelle Show sketch where Dave Chappelle pretty much said, if I wrote my own autobiography, I would lie as much as humanly possible and make myself like look good, right? And maybe to Fosse's credit, he didn't go that completely far with it. he didn't really say like, oh, well, I'm this perfect person or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying at all. But I think that like maybe some truth may be left out of it. And maybe that's why I'm sort of lacking on this movie, is that there was no sort of emotional pull or anything like that. And I think that that's another example of, it's possible that maybe someone else could have done like a more truthful job of it. But then again, it's a Bob Fosse picture. So, I mean, it's going to have like dancing, excitement, and such. But again, not a lot of emotional pull, which I think was probably supposed to be the main thing, and there wasn't a big deal of it. So all that jazz. If you do really like this movie, of course, comment, like. I mean, did you love the movie? Did you any other thoughts that I may have missed with it? Please comment, like, subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.